If you have not seen the first video on reading wiring diagrams, then click here to view it. The wiring diagram shown in this video is for example only and does not apply to any vehicle. On page 13 of the printout we have a new wiring diagram. Again, this is for the new beta, but wiring diagram number 82, and we are on page 2. At track number 2 we have a weld point, but this time the thin line extends beyond the wire that is on track number 1. This is to indicate there are more wires with this weld point, but not shown here. In another wiring diagram, the 199 weld point would be shown. On current tracks 4, 13, and 14, there are thin lines connecting to the line for chassis ground. These are items that are grounded because they are physically mounted to the vehicle. The most common example of this will be the starter motor. It is grounded because it is bolted to the transmission. Several lines for the wires on this page terminate to small circles. These small circles represent threaded studs that the wire is connected to. Tracks 6 to 11 show fuses, but the gray box they are in is drawn with wavy ends on it. This is to show that this piece of hardware is not shown in its entirety. So while the example shows 5 fuses, the fuse block may contain another 20 fuses within it. It is common for fuse blocks to be drawn this way, but sometimes control modules can be shown this way as well. Sometimes wiring will go to an item that isn't detailed in the wiring diagram you are looking at, but information may still be given. 2 examples of this are shown here. On track 5, the blue wire, 0.5 mm in size, terminates with J285 T32/12. The J285 is the instrument cluster, and this blue wire goes to T32/12 of the instrument cluster terminal housing. The wiring diagram for the instrument cluster of the new beta would also have this information. On track 14, a more complex example of this is shown. Terminal 50 of the starter, the red with black trace 2.5 mm wire, goes through a T6E terminal housing, position number 3, then to control module J226, the park neutral position relay, terminal position number 8. Then from the J226 terminal position 6 to the ignition switch, terminal 50. Terminal 50 is battery power when the ignition is switched to the starter position. As with the first example, other wiring diagrams will have more detail on the J226 and the ignition switch. At the top of the wiring diagram, in tracks 3 and 6, we have black boxes with numbers in them. These are relay positions. On this page, those positions are shown empty, but another wiring diagram may have information showing a relay in those positions. On page 14, at the top of the wiring diagram, on tracks 24 and 25, we do have a relay shown, and this relay will be found in position number 2 of the relay block. Notice the relay is drawn to show an open circuit. Relays will be drawn to show the switch condition when not powered, as in ignition off. It should also be noted that switches, like the headlight switch for example, will be drawn to show it in the off position. At the top of track 22, we have 2 internal electrical paths crossing each other, but they are not electrically tied together. Over on tracks 24 and 25, we see internal electrical paths tied together with a black dot, meaning they are electrically connected. On tracks 16 to 20 are fuses all using a single power source via a bus strip. Black dots to show the paths are electrically tied together. The extended line at the end means there may be other fuses on the same bus strip, but not shown in this wiring diagram. On page 15, track 29 has a dotted line. When you find wires drawn as a dotted or dashed line, then the car you have may or may not have this wiring. Different equipment or production dates can create these kinds of variations. In this example, the dotted line is for an F36 clutch pedal switch. If the new beta we are working on has an automatic transmission, then there would not be an F36 clutch pedal switch. Tracks 29 to 31 has the brake light switch. As stated, switches are drawn in the off position, or in this case, not operated. As this wiring diagram shows it, there are two electrical paths going through the brake light switch. With the brake light switch not being operated, terminals 1 and 3 are closed circuit, but terminals 2 and 4 are open circuit. When the brake light switch is operated by stepping on the brake pedal, then we should expect to see terminals 1 and 3 go open circuit and terminals 2 and 4 go closed circuit. Let's now do some examples following the electrical paths of components in the new beta. Keep in mind the wiring diagram examples used here are for demonstration purposes only and do not apply to any actual vehicle. On page 14, current track 20, the J45 parasitic drain module is shown. It is grounded at ground point 87 using a brown wire with a black trace 1 mm diameter, which is connected to terminal position number 2 of the J45 module. Terminal number 1 is connected to a red wire with a violet trace 1 mm diameter that goes to fuse S241, a 15 amp fuse. The other end of the fuse is connected to a bus strip that goes to a red wire with a green trace 10 mm in diameter. The wiring diagram continues on the previous page at point B. Turn to page 13. On page 13, we locate point B. Again, this is the same red wire with a green trace 10 mm diameter. This wire is secured to a threaded stud at fuse S147, an 80 amp fuse. S147 is connected to a bus strip that runs to another threaded connection with a red wire, 16 mm diameter, that goes right to the positive post of the battery. Turn to page 15. On current tracks 38 to 42 is the J439 blinker fluid heater control module. The main ground for it is found on track 38 at ground point number 49. There is a brown wire with a yellow trace 1 mm in diameter. The J439 has a 10-pin terminal housing for it. Position number 2 is the ground wire, thus T10I/2 is ground. At terminal position T10I/1 is a red wire 6 mm diameter. This electrical path continues on current track number 10. On current track number 10, we will find a corresponding box with the number 38 inside of it. Turn to page 13 and locate current track number 10. We find our electrical path from current track 38, the red wire 6 mm diameter. It goes to a threaded connection at fuse S151, a 50 amp fuse. Fuse S151 is connected to a bus strip that runs to another threaded connection, a red wire 16 mm diameter that goes right to the positive post of the battery. Turn to page 14 and locate fuse S240 on current track 19. The red wire with brown trace 1 mm diameter continues on current track 24. Current track 24 has two separate electrical paths shown on it. When jumping from current track to track, you need to make sure you continue on the correct path, 19 in this example. It is important to be able to read the wiring diagram to help diagnose vehicles. Let's take a look at two hypothetical situations. The customer states that the cruise control does not work. The car is a manual transmission and there are no fault codes. Measuring block data shows the on-off, set, and resume buttons for the cruise control are working. On page 15, at current track 29, we see the F36 clutch switch, and on current track 30, we have the F47 brake light switch. Both of those switches are closed circuit when not operated. The signal that comes from track 88 should normally pass through the F47 and then the F36 and go to the J220, terminal T121/39. If there is a break in this electrical path, the J220 will not know the difference between a broken wire versus the clutch or brake pedal being operated. Thus, the cruise control will be disabled. The customer states that at times the car does not time travel when doing 88 miles per hour. An auto scan shows that the central electronics has fault codes for the J451 no communication and a code for the J439 lower limit exceeded. Both fault codes are intermittent. Looking at the wiring diagram, you will find that both the J451 and the J439 share the same ground point, number 49, which is located at the steering column. It would be advisable to inspect the ground point and repair as needed.